I'm sure you've asked a lot of questions during your life. You probably asked a bunch of questions when you were a kid. Why do I have to eat Brussels sprouts? Where do babies come from? Why can't I stick this fork in that light socket? And sometimes you'd get a quick answer. Other times you'd be told to ask someone else. Ask your mother. Ask your teacher. Over time, you found out that your mother and your teacher didn't have all of the answers to life's questions. So maybe you tried to find someone who knew more. Eventually, you may have asked an expert. But even if you find an expert, you'll soon realize that experts don't have all the answers either. Why don't they have all the answers? It's simple. If you think about everything that can possibly be known, past, present, and future, about the universe, about all of reality, science, mathematics, history, ethics, theology, all possible knowledge, how much of what can be known does any brilliant college professor actually know? Not much. Probably a very, very tiny percentage. So it's easy to keep asking questions until even an expert doesn't know the answers. But we understand what it means to know a tiny fraction of everything that can be known, and we understand that someone can know more than others. So if we continue thinking about what it would be like to know more and more and more, we find that there's an upper limit. What if someone knew absolutely everything? That would be omniscience, and the possessor of that knowledge would be what we call God. Wouldn't it be nice to ask God, the ultimate expert on everything, a question? You've asked a lot of questions during your life. Unless you stopped asking questions very early on, you probably didn't get answers to a lot of your questions. And now it's time for you to ask one more question. So, if you could ask God one question, and you knew that God would answer that one question, what one question would you ask? I'd like you to post your question for God in the comments. You don't get to ask two questions. Well, you can do whatever you want, but if you post more than one question, I'm going to ignore it because I'm specifically trying to figure out what people regard as the single most important answer they'd like to have. So, one question, I'll explain why later. This will be interesting. I'd also like you to give a thumbs up, a like, to any other questions that people ask that you think are really good questions so that we can start to get a ranking of the most important questions people have. Now, I'm sure some of you Dawkins drones are about to comment, "Ha ha, I don't even believe in God, so why would I ask a question to someone who doesn't exist? Lol. I don't believe in a cosmic wizard. I don't need a sky daddy. Prove to me that God exists." And stop embarrassing yourself. Even if you believe that God is a fictional character, you can still think of a question you would ask a fictional character. When you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, don't you ask the red dragon, "Oh, red dragon, how can I too be the most archetypal villain of legend and fable?" Someone could say to me, "David, suppose you could ask Sherlock Holmes any question. What would you ask?" Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character, but I'd be happy to ask him, "Mr. Holmes, why would people who, according to their own worldview, only have, at best, another 60 or 70 years of life, spend every waking moment whining about religion in the comments section of YouTube?" So, even if you don't believe that God exists, you can still write down a question that you would ask God if he existed. All right, that's the assignment. Everyone, no matter what your beliefs happen to be, can ask one question. If you ask more than one question, your questions will be ignored, but be sure to give a thumbs up to any questions that you think are especially good questions. And in the words of Count Rugen,
and remember, this is for posterity, so be honest.